This year is shaping up to be an exciting one for the wrestling free agency market, with there potentially set to be a ton of movement from one company to another. We recently brought you 11 contracts that will expire over the course of the next year, and we thought that was enough at the time. However, even more have started to come to light, enough so for yet another video. So with that said, let's check out 10 more upcoming wrestling free agents that you need to know. As one of the founding members of Bullet Club, Tama Tonga has been a New Japan Pro Wrestling loyalist ever since joining the promotion back in 2010. A 7-time IWGP Tag Team Champion alongside his brother Tonga Loa, Tama was one of the key figures of the Bullet Club OG sub-faction. However, they were recently betrayed by BC leader Jay White and fellow founding member Carl Anderson, leading to the Gorillas of Destiny splitting from the group. Recently, it was reported by Fightful that WWE have been interested in signing Tama Tonga since before this year's Wrestle Kingdom, with them adding that their sources in New Japan tell them that Tama's contract is set to expire in just a few weeks, and this was in early January. Whilst an exact date is still unknown, it's possible that Tama could be tempted with a move to WWE given his residence in the United States, with him likely set to be in the midst of a bidding war between the two top promotions in America and even New Japan themselves. After Kenny Omega left New Japan Pro Wrestling in January 2019, it opened up a spot for the top guy Jin at the head of the company. Whilst many can claim to have filled that spot, one man who can is the leader of the Bullet Club, Jay White. Since becoming the faction's top guy, he's gone on to win the IWGP World and Heavyweight, IWGP United States, the IWGP Intercontinental, as well as the Never Openweight Championship, making him the first ever NJPW Grand Slam champion. It was recently reported by Fightful Select that not only is White's contract expiring very soon, but there is a lot of confidence within WWE that they can sign White. Having recently lost a Loser Leaves Japan match to former Bullet Club member Hikuleo before losing a Loser Leaves New Japan match to AEW's Eddie Kingston at the Battle in the Valley, it looks like Switchblade's time with the company is over. Whilst the exact end date of his contract is still unknown, the belief is that it will expire any moment now, meaning we could see him elsewhere very soon, with WrestleMania or the Raw after WrestleMania feeling like a fitting debut destination were he to be Stamford bound. Few wrestling surnames are quite as iconic as that of Von Erich. Currently following in the footsteps of Fritz, Kevin, David, Kerry, Mike and Chris are the young Marshall and Ross, currently residing in Major League Wrestling alongside their father Kevin, the last survivor of the Von Erich brothers. The former MLW World Tag Champions are tipped for a big future in the world of wrestling, with them perhaps ready to take their next step later this year. Marshall would recently reveal in an interview on the Two-Man Power Trip podcast that he and his brother's deals will end in June 2023. His father Kevin would also recently take part in an interview with John Arezzi, where he would have big praise for All Elite Wrestling's Tony Khan and teased a potential jump to AEW later this year. With the duo likely set for offers from the two top promotions, they could be in for a big end of 2023 heading into the new year. And before we get to the rest of today's stories, be sure to subscribe to Wrestle Planet if you haven't done so already, as we aim to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And also head over to Wrestle Planet Gaming if you're into wrestling video games, ahead of the launch of both AEW Fight Forever and WWE 2K23. But with that said, let's get to the rest of the video. Dustin Rhodes is one of the veterans of the AEW locker room, having taken part in arguably the most important match in All Elite Wrestling history with his brother Cody at the company's first ever show, Double or Nothing. Since Cody's jump to WWE, however, many have speculated that Dustin could be on his way out of the door, something that could well be possible later this year. On a recent episode of Busted Open Radio, Dustin revealed that his contract ends in July 2023, before adding that this will be his last year as an active wrestler. At 53 years of age, 36 of those in the ring, he feels that he's coming closer to hanging up his boots. Whilst his next move remains to be seen, Dustin could quite easily transition into a backstage role at AEW if he chooses to stay, or he could also be a valuable asset to WWE or even Impact Wrestling, bringing valuable experience to any of those locker rooms as a producer or agent. Former UFC fighter Matt Riddle joined NXT in 2018 before debuting on the main roster in 2020 after an introduction by Kurt Angle. Although initially losing a string of matches, Matt would go on to be pushed as a babyface mid-carder and would get over with the fans as one half of the tag team RK Bro, this before a back injury to partner Randy Orton. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Riddle would sign a brand new WWE contract in late 2020, which is said to have been a 3-year deal, and whilst the exact date is still unknown, this means the deal will end at the end of 2023. Whilst it seems likely that he will stick around in WWE, with Triple H being the one that signed him to the company, it's worth considering the possibilities outside of the company given his background in the UFC, with a potential return to MMA not to be ruled out. One of the most underrated superstars released by WWE during the pandemic era, Heath Slater reinvented himself by joining Impact Wrestling in July 2020. Joining the company as a quote, free agent, his debut angle saw him attempt to earn a contract, similar to a storyline in WWE that saw him looking for a brand after being left out of the draft. Now as a regular member of the Impact roster, he opened up about his contract situation in a recent interview with Fightful, revealing that he is locked in until fall 2023. He would add that he was having a lot of fun in Impact and loved the creative process in the company, adding that there is a lot left to do there. It appears that for now, Heath plans on sticking around in Impact for the foreseeable future, and with an AEW or WWE offer likely off the table, at least for now, the Impact Zone feels like the perfect fit for Heath to get regular screen time, with him likely set for a new deal with the company later this year. Formerly known as Kurt Hawkins, Brian Myers is yet another ex-WWE wrestler who found success in Impact, this after being released by Vince McMahon. The most professional wrestler has gone on to win championship gold, being a former Impact Digital Media champion, this all whilst working on the independent circuit across the United States, and also being 1/3 of the major wrestling figure podcast trio with Mark Sterling and Matt Cardona. When speaking with Sports Illustrated in late 2022, Myers would reveal that he signed a new one-year contract with Impact Wrestling, which is of course set to expire at the end of 2023 in around December. Much like Heath, Myers is a great fit for Impact, a platform that allows him regular television time and a level of creative freedom that he may not get elsewhere. That said, he would be a valuable addition to any locker room given his vast experience and coaching ability, with him being responsible for some of the best in the business today, including some that are better than you, and you know it. A former Impact Knockouts, ROH Women's and AAA Reina del Reina's champion, Deonna Purrazzo is one of the most gifted competitors in the wrestling world. Currently under contract with Impact Wrestling, her deal sees her able to work through many proverbial forbidden doors on a regular basis, although she will soon be free to sign a new contract elsewhere. It has been reported by Fightful Select that Deonna's deal with Impact was set to expire on January 1st, 2023, which would have made her already a free agent. However, the company chose to exercise a clause in the deal to extend it by 1 year, meaning the contract now ends on January 1st, 2024. Despite Impact giving her the freedom to work for multiple promotions, it feels like the time is coming for her to sign with one of the two top major American promotions, with WWE and AEW no doubt set to be locked in a bidding war for one of the hottest upcoming free agents in the business. Sting stunned the wrestling world when he made his AEW debut at Winter is Coming 2020, before going on to be linked up with rising star Darby Allin as both his manager and tag team partner. The duo have found great success in the company, with Sting going on an undefeated record of 13 wins and 0 losses. In an article in D Magazine, it was reported that Sting's contract is set to expire at some point in 2023, although an exact date was not given. With that said, he debuted in December 2020, which means his contract likely ends around that time this year. The D Magazine article would also suggest that 2023 will be the Icon's final year in wrestling, with his last days perhaps ahead. With Sting seemingly set for his second and final retirement, no fan would begrudge such a decision, with the face of WCW having one of the most historic careers in modern times, with nobody deserving to put their feet up more than the man called Sting. One of the biggest stars in WWE, Brock Lesnar, has been a part-time main eventer for the company for the majority of the last decade. After losing 2 back-to-back WrestleMania matches against Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre respectively, Brock would allow his contract to expire after WrestleMania 36. He did return in the summer of 2021, signing a reported 18-month contract, this again according to Fightful Select, which would mean that his deal is coming to an end sometime after WrestleMania 39. With Lesnar seemingly booked to wrestle Omos at the big stage this year, the match could be booked as a passing of the torch from one big man to another, depending on if Lesnar plans on sticking around after his deal ends. It could be the case that he leaves for a few months before returning, or he could perhaps have his eye on ventures outside of WWE. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 upcoming wrestling free agents that you need to know.